thinking, yeah, he's late. Where is he? Where's he gone to? He said he's going to be here at this time. He didn't show up. It's not going to happen. What happened? Wasting my time. No, it's just, this is what happens when you have to get everything ready right down to the wire and you're trying to make sure everything is working correctly and you've got all your preparation done. I'm here. Okay, how's it going, Darren? I'm just checking my sound. It seems to be working fine. T minus 1 minute. Laughing my... Hi, Matt, how's it going? I think we tweeted about doing it tonight at 1. No. It's look, what happened is New Zealand went from daylight savings to standard time zones, and it sort of might have messed things up a little bit, so I was expecting a lot of people to be quite confused. I was certainly quite confused because I woke up and suddenly the time was not quite the time I was expecting. Yes, we are live, and there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce that name. Pajanga Tafakuru, yeah, something like that. Okay, all right. So let us move on from here, shall we? Now you'll find the start time for this video down in the description once it's published by YouTube and I get a chance to actually sort of put in the start time. Now, normally what I do with my Lost Mine of phandelver or any kind of live stream video that has a whole lot of content, would you believe it? I've got 3 pages. I normally present everything first, and then I open it up for questions and answers near the end. And that is exactly what I'm going to do, provided my voice holds out. It seems to be sort of going for the crackly bit. Okay, so no more fluffing about. We will get started, shall we? Make sure we make this good and entertaining today because people have had to wait 2 minutes while Fred got his shite together. All right, I'm starting. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5e, and I'm going to talk about taverns, yes, but we're not going to talk about burning them down. I know that players like to have their characters burn down taverns, and I've heard that take place many times, so I thought this Dungeons and Dragons meme was appropriate. So today is the Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Master Guide. Now that's for the Dungeons and Dragons 5e starter set. If you are a player in the game for Lost Mine of Phandelver, this is the wrong video for you, and you should go and watch some of my other videos because your Dungeon Master will be very annoyed if you watch this particular video. By all means, come back and watch it later on once you've played through the adventure, but right now is not a good time. This particular video is for the Dungeon Master and the Dungeon Master only. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Grista from the Sleeping Giant Tavern. Oh, it sounds exciting. I know a lot of people have been sort of wanting me to do something like this because if you look in the Lost Mine of Phandelver on page 18, you will find copious amounts of information. No, there isn't actually. There's very little on this particular character. In fact, there's like, is it 2 sentences? And so little information that you really, as a Dungeon Master, you are expected to do all of the work. So, for the last couple of hours and about the last week, I have been compiling everything I could possibly find and a few things I just had to make up because unfortunately there really isn't very much in the adventure. So from about now, I would say a handful of the stuff is stuff that's from the book, and the rest, Fred just made that shite up. Okay? Alright, here we go. So this is what we've got. We've got that Grista is a surly female dwarf. She owns the rundown tap house called the Sleeping Giant Tavern, and I will explain the name because I've come up with something that I think you will find satisfactory. The Sleeping Giant Tavern is a dirty, falling apart tap house, and it's really because Grista does not make enough money to repair any of the damage that is done by the patrons who cause damage during their drinking binges. Unfortunately, this is a common occurrence for her to have to deal with. Now, you will find the sleeping giant is to the east on the map on Phandelver, about sort of on the middle. It's sort of on the side to Stonehill Inn. I've already got a video on Stonehill Inn if you want to go and check that out, by all means, but not right now because we are talking about other things. Now, the reason this is taking place is because the Red Brand gang of bandits is using the tavern as their local hangout. This is where they hang out, they get into trouble, they get into fights, they cause damage, they break chairs, they drink her booze, and unfortunately, they don't often pay full price. In fact, it's quite rare that that actually happens. As a result, the local Phandelver patrons have shifted their drinking habits over to the Stonehill Inn rather than going to the Sleeping Giant Tap House. Now, there was nothing wrong with the Sleeping Giant Tap House. It was actually quite a nice place to drink, but not with the red brands around, unfortunately. Grista is a tough dwarf. She can't, even though she's quite tough, she can't really do anything about the red brands in her tavern, and they really do whatever they want. There's really nobody who's actually keeping them in check, and that's really annoying Grista quite a lot. Grista is slowly going out of business, as really do the red brands pay full price, and sometimes they just take their booze for free, and there's not an awful lot that she can do about it. She hates the Red Brand gang and would love to see them 6 feet under or essentially dead. Yes, dead. I would imagine that's definitely high on her priorities. Dead would be good. Grista despises the snobby town master, Haben Wester, for essentially doing nothing about the gang. And this gang is causing, out of everybody in town, she is the one who's suffering the most. And he's done nothing to sort that out. Even though Haben Wester really doesn't have the resources to do so, that really, Grista doesn't really care. She's just resentful that it's taking place, and she's the one who's copping most of the flack. She is resentful and jealous of the Stonehill Inn because it has essentially gained all of her better tavern drinking local patrons. That's where all her business, all her steady, regular, you can be counted on business has gone to the Stonehill Inn. Grista is generally quite bad-tempered and unfriendly with strangers, and this has sort of transposed itself onto the locals as well. Although she runs a tap house where, you know, people talk and drink and chat and so forth, she's never been very good with people, even though she does run a tap house of this kind. As it happens, though, as a result of her troubles, things have improved for her. So Grista is generally finding that her relationship with the general population of Phandelver has actually improved due to the fact that her business is failing and all of her troubles with the Red Brand gang. People actually feel quite sorry for her, and as a result, it's actually improved her relationship with everybody else, even though it's at the expense of her business. Grista is a firm believer in Morden, and she's actually a hill dwarf rather than a mountain dwarf. So her background is a hill dwarf. She's lost her connection with her hill dwarf clan. Her full name is in fact Grista Craghaven, but no one actually knows her clan name in town because she doesn't tell anybody about this sort of information. She keeps it to herself. Very few people know anything personal about Grista, as she really has trouble trusting anyone whatsoever. One of the things that very few individuals know, but it's what has changed and formed the sleeping giant as a tavern, and that is Grista is a skilled masonry worker or stone worker. It's not uncommon for a dwarf, right? And she used her art and craft many years ago to craft or carve a sleeping stone giant statue from sandstone to be her key focus and her decoration for her tavern. It now sits Unfortunately, it sits outside with a cover over it to keep the weather off it, and so that people don't know that it's there, and to avoid the red brands from damaging her work, because essentially that's what probably going to take place. If she left it out, it's going to get smashed or destroyed or defaced in some way, and she doesn't really want that to happen. So the Sleeping Giant Tavern is named after the statue that once graced this place. Grista has not married. She's not married. She has no children, and her parents have passed away. They are dead. They're no longer with us. So she's essentially alone. So Grista Craghaven is actually quite a brave and courageous individual. Her attitude in life is never to give up, and she's really tried hard to establish herself in Phandelver. Although she wouldn't admit it, that's exactly how it is for her. She would not admit that she is in fact very, very lonely beyond belief. And this is actually why she set up the tavern, so that she could meet new people and travellers as they were passing through Phandelver. Which seems a bit odd, because for somebody who doesn't actually interact well with others, you wouldn't think that would be the case. Now, a dwarven woman is much more likely to get past her grumpy defences. It is a defensive mechanism. She does find it difficult to trust people, but a dwarven woman could probably get past those defences if she was doing things right. Grista doesn't know anything significant about Gundren Rockseeker or his brothers or their mining operations, so if the player's characters start asking about Gundren Rockseeker, she really can't answer questions about that sort of thing. Now, if they start asking numerous questions, which chances are they may well do, she doesn't know anything about the Black Spider. She has heard the word spoken, the Black Spider, by the Red Brands, but she's not likely to openly state this to the player's characters. It would take quite a lot of work on a player's character's part to actually get that information out of her. But she does know that there is an individual called the Black Spider that the Red Brands have mentioned from time to time. She doesn't know anything more than that, unfortunately. What about somebody like Glassstaff? Well, as it happens, Glassstaff is a name she does know, because the Red Brands that populate her tavern have talked about their leader, Glassstaff. She doesn't know his real name. She doesn't even know that Glassstaff is or isn't the real name of their leader. So it's also very unlikely that she will state openly in public that she knows anything about Glassstaff. But she is one of the individuals within Phandelver who is aware of an individual called Glassstaff, who is the leader of the Red Brands. She doesn't know the location of Cragmore Castle, so if they ask her that information, she couldn't pass it on, even if she was willing to do so. And as a general rule, she probably won't pass on any sort of information, even if they do ask general questions, just from fear of retaliation from the Red Brands. So she's not likely to help them. Now, if they get past her defences and you do well in terms of the process of building up a relationship between the player's characters and Grista, she can tell him a little bit about Agatha. She's aware of Agatha, where she is. She's been around a long time, so she does know a little bit about Agatha, but essentially it's just that, she's a banshee, she's been there a long time, and her general location. She would never actually go and visit Agatha, though. That's just not going to happen. Now, lastly, if the player's characters figure it out, the chances are that she would never ask for help from the player's characters. In fact, she would never ask for help generally unless it's from Harbin Wester or the other townsfolk. She's not going to ask for help openly because it would be too dangerous for her to do so. But if the player's characters were to eliminate or dispose of the Red Brands and their gang, they would gain a major ally from Grista. The chances are she would be quite happy for that to take place. She would welcome them in. She would certainly try a bit harder not to be quite so abrupt with them. And the chances are they may get a little bit of free alcohol as well, if that's what they're after. She really can't pay them to do anything about the red brands because she just does not have any money left. The red brands have been sucking her dry, and she can't just quit and pack up her business because the red brands won't let her do that. But if the players' characters do get themselves into a situation where they could actually help her by disposing of the red brands, she would be incredibly thankful. Okay, so that is everything that I could possibly come up with from the book, from the internet, on the red brands and Grista and her relationship with the sleeping giant. Now, if you found this video helpful or informative, please share and like the video. If you haven't subscribed and you like this sort of thing, I do this quite often and I have many more videos. So subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. I have hundreds of other videos you can go and check out. So you've certainly supported me by watching this video, and I do thank you for doing so. But I have hundreds more videos for players and for dungeon masters, and I have a whole series on the Lost Mine of Phandelver as it happens. Many videos, and you're welcome to go and check them out as well. I don't do Patreon, but down in the description you'll find affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon, where you can buy stuff online. I get a small commission, you pay exactly the same price, and that helps support me to buy more stuff and keep doing this sort of thing. Now, if you have questions, feedback, if you want to add something, if you disagree with me, if you just want to say hi, that's what the live stream chat box is for, so use it. Start typing frantically now. If you're not part of the live chat, that's what the comment section's for. Thank you, YouTube. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Bear with me, I just need to position myself. And he's trying to get his head in the middle somehow. Maybe. I don't know, what is that up there? I don't know. I can't tell. It's too hard to figure out sometimes. Yeah. I don't know what I'm looking at. So, yeah, okay. I think my head is pretty much in the center. So we'll just switch over. You can see my face now. Oh, okay. There's my face. Oh, all right. Okay, let's go to the questions and answers. Oh, my lordy. There's a lot of questions. Okay, all right, let's work my way through here. Okay, this is one video that required a lot of work on my part, and I had to come up with a whole lot of stuff. Some of it might be good, some of it might be bad. To be honest, page 18 has like hardly anything there, and there was really not much on the internet. Not much more than that was in the book for the adventure. So I made most of it up. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's get through the questions. Okay, NZ Newsboy. How's it going, NZ Newsboy? My PCs haven't made it to the Sleeping Giant yet, despite being 8 sessions in. Look, don't worry about that sort of thing. It's actually unnecessary to go to the Sleeping Giant. And I think I had a group that never actually went there. Well, they did, but they never actually got inside. A fight broke out on the outside of the tavern before they ever stepped in the door. So that's not really a big issue, so I wouldn't worry about it. Darren, what do you got here? I have a player whose character tried to burn down the tavern, so it's funny for me. It's I bet it is. It's part of the reason, Darren, why I picked that Dungeons and Dragons Mimi at the front, because I know you had mentioned that particular story to me, and I thought, well, I'm going to do that because that's quite often a response players have. And I know that some of the players I had at my table had mentioned that if the red brands hang out at the tavern, let's just burn it down and bolt the door behind them so they can't get out, which was really kind of horrible, but I imagine there's more than a few players who've come up with that as a solution to solving the red brand issue without having to get into a fight. Sector Black. Yo, how's it going in Sector Black? Dear Jesus, phew, you made it. Yes, you did, dear Jesus, you definitely made it. you must be pretty busy. I know those maps, I still haven't had a chance to get to them, but I will work my way through them, dear Jesus. Thank you very much. David Goody. We had a pretty good fight in the Burning Tavern one time, but didn't actually start the fire. Crazy cultists. Oh gosh. I've heard that. Land cultists, fire cultists, tavern cultists. I hate to think. I'm not going to go anywhere near it, David. Well, at least as long as your players had a good time, right? It's the main thing. And as long as you didn't get upset about the whole tavern getting burnt down. Grista's probably not very happy though, if that's the particular tavern you're talking about. Darren, did we lose Fred or just me? No, you didn't lose Fred. I'm pretty sure I'm still here, unless there's something that's happened. Slice of Scott, lost connection here too. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't realise, is there a technical note? My end says that it's doing everything it's supposed to be doing. So, and I watched the, it's all saying green for me. So I don't know what happened partway through. Hopefully you were able to pick up whatever I was trying to say. David, Darren, what do you got here? It was me. Okay. You must chew me on fiber line. What? You chewing on the fiber line? Chewing on my fiber line? No, I don't think there's mouses. There's no mouses chewing on my fiber line. I really like Fred's take on the NPC. Well, look, I thought it was really hard from the information I was provided to try to pull apart Grista and try and come up with some information that would be useful to you. I kind of felt that the character was an individual who probably wouldn't have gotten on that well with anybody in town, who would be in a really bad situation and may not have a lot of personal aspects to them that would seem appealing, but I wanted to make the character seem like quite a sad individual because of the situation that's taking place, even though she's got a surly sort of outlook on life. I really wanted to make her seem like someone you would have pity for. So that's why I've done it that way. And I think it fits and works with the information that was provided, which is pretty much nothing. Walter, my name is Darren also. Aha! Well, I can't call Darren... I don't want to call Darren P and you Darren, so I'm just going to call you Walter and then I'll call you Darren. Otherwise it'd be really confusing. Hopefully that's all right, Walter Darren. That's going to be weird as well. Dear Jesus, brings the town alive. Yeah, I really want you to be able to make things more interesting for your players' characters and for yourself. I know it's really hard to play these characters if you don't have a bit of meat to them. You don't have to have all of that stuff. You can just make it up as you go. But sometimes it's nice to have that there. I know if I had that information there for myself, I would have used it. But when I was running the adventure, many years ago, and I didn't really have time to do a lot of prep. It was really just select some images. The image that you saw for my thumbnail is the original image I used for that character though. Okay. Yes, that's right. It's Fred's creation. Slice of Scott. Aha, thanks. You're welcome. NZ Newsboy. Nice chunk of info, Fred. I know that this particular video was quite short. It was less than 15 minutes of information and content. But really, considering how much I had to work with, I thought I did all right. Walter, seen your Why I Play D&D video last night. All right, did you like that? Good. There is a reason. We all have our own reason for playing Dungeons and Dragons, and mine is summed up in that video. Hi Matt, how's it going? Hey Fred, had my first session last weekend on this module. Okay, I'm about to run the first Goblin Cave and was wondering, that's right, you were asking me, Matt, in a comment in a video, and I never got back to you because I was writing this stuff. So if you thought I was ignoring you, Matt, it was not the case. what was happening was I was actually trying to prepare for this particular video, and I just didn't have enough time. That's why I was right down to the line, and also a little bit on the late side. So I'm about to run the first goblin cave, and we are wondering if it would be too hard to make the last encounter a pair of bugbears. Okay, all right. So, Matt, here's what happened for me. I was running Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League, and I was one of the only dungeon masters in Auckland. In fact, I would say I was one of the only very, very few dungeon masters, there may be a handful, maybe 2 or 3 in the whole of New Zealand who were doing public games. So I had 7 people at my table. I had a lot of people, and I know why you're wanting to add a second bugbear, a bugbear brother. Because you have a big table of players, right? That makes most sense. You add more monsters if you've got a bigger table. What I would like to say is you can do that. I wouldn't say you can't. I know my group got through the situation fairly efficiently, even though they were only level 1. They weren't level 2 at this particular point. But 7 level 1 characters will do all right. You might find that a few characters can potentially get outright killed by a bugbear. And I think I did a video on the bugbear as part of my Monster Manual series, which you can go and check out as well if you need to. That just highlights the point that bugbears are lethal at low level, particularly if they get surprised. Now, if your players' characters get surprised in the first round on the bugbear Clark, and I have a video on Clark the bugbear as well, by the way, then you'll find that you'll be fine. They'll cruise through it. If they don't get surprised and you've got a big table, they'll struggle. You may lose a few characters. A few will definitely get knocked down, more than likely. Maybe not a lot. If you've got a smaller group, it's a much tougher fight. So you could add another bugbear. What I would suggest, though, is I would add more goblins rather than add another bugbear. 2 bugbears is tough. And they do so much damage, particularly if they wind up getting surprised. So I would suggest increasing the number of goblins rather than adding another bugbear, because we really want Clark to be the centerpiece for that particular encounter and that particular location. And having 2 bugbears, I feel like, might be just a bit much. So why not try a few more goblins rather than adding in a bugbear? Just because of the sheer amount of damage that bugbear can do if they hit and they get surprised. Okay, I hope you'll let me know, Matt, if that answered your question. Walter, you put a lot of heart into the video thread about cried watching. I'm not sure about cried watching. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few videos where I've been on the edge. I try not to do that, and it's a bit awkward because sometimes I'm doing it live. So it's actually, I've got to be careful about how I manage myself. Anyway, dear Jesus, I'm 3 weeks without a game session. Oh dear. So I have a lot of time to edit maps and build dice boxes for my PCs. Laugh out loud. Well, I played last night. You'll see probably some of the images from my game on the not the Dungeons and Dragons, on the HowtoDandD Facebook group. I put them up, or some of them anyway. I won't get to play for 2 weeks. I'm probably going to have a little bit of a problem in that, the next 2 weeks I've got so much work coming, and I have to do training on the weekend as well. So I'm not going to be able to do my normal scheduled videos. So you might still see video content, but it won't be new content. That's the only hassle. It'll be old live streams. But I totally get that. Yeah, 2 weeks without Dungeons and Dragons is going to be a long time. 3 weeks is rough. Okay, Walter from the Big Lebowski. John Goodman. Yeah, why not? Yes, that one. Well, okay, what do you got here, Matt? and because I have so many players, I am trying to link them all to the stories. Oh gosh, is there any quest that is easily replaceable? Just swap out a few enemies and change the story of it a bit to relate to the PCs. Okay, so Matt, I want to talk to you about this. I'm not going to go until I've resolved this issue for you, okay? Here's the thing with players at your table. When you are running an adventure, there are two dungeon master schools of thought, general schools of thought, and that is the old school of thought was whatever character you bring to the table, you have to integrate into the dungeon master's story. There is a persuasive and popular way of thinking right now, and that is that the players make up background stories and have goals for their characters that may not relate to the dungeon master's adventure hook at all. And so they make up their own stuff, and then the dungeon master has to work really hard and learn all these new skills to try and make that work for their adventure. And you'll see this taking place in Acquisitions Incorporated. It's a lot of live stream games, public live stream games. Critical Role does it. Matthew Mercer does a lot of this. A lot of the big channels talk about, making sure the dungeon master builds the character's goals in. But I feel like that is back to front, okay? If that loses me a few subscribers, I'm going to say this is how I think it should happen. You have a session 0. You tell the players, look, here are some pre-generated characters. You don't have to use these, but these characters have backstories to them. I would like you to pick up one of those backstories. I did a video on this called Why Help Gundren Rockseeker, and it talks about trying to integrate and also how to prepare for for the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I talk about how to actually get your players to integrate into the story that already exists, rather than have to build stuff for them that they have come up with. So they should be doing the work to make it easier for you rather than the other way round. I feel like that's an unfair thing to do. But players will be doing it because that is what they're being told by a lot of people over the internet, and probably by a lot of people in real life, that they interact with. So 2 schools of thought. My school of thought is, I do a session 0 with everybody. I have a discussion. Here are some pre-made characters. They have some backgrounds and some goals. If you don't like the pre-made characters, select one of their goals. That is your goal. Rather than have to build stuff around something that may be completely unrelated to the adventure you are running. I feel like that is actually asking way too much of a dungeon master from a player when a player does that. But I do understand why players do it, because they're being educated in this way that this is how it can happen. And everybody wants to be like Critical Role. Every dungeon master, just about every dungeon master, every player wants to be able to play a game like Critical Role, where their own character gets their own story arc. But they don't understand that poor Matthew Mercer, spending 3 or 4 hours, if not more, having to actually come up with all of this stuff, and you as the dungeon master probably don't have that kind of time available to you. You don't do it as a job, okay? You can't go without sleep so you can get up tomorrow and actually go and do your job, so and look after your family and get on with life. So that's my view. The players integrate themselves into the story you are going to run, and your story is about helping Gundren Rockseeker. Okay, hopefully I've answered the question. If I have lost a whole bunch of subscribers, you were watching the wrong channel, and I'm not the guy for you. Okay, Darren, I think the NPC, DMPC, Dwarven Cleric I had to start running may just get friendly with Grista. Yeah, why not? It makes perfect sense. A dwarf would have a better chance of getting to know Grista. I feel like a female dwarf or a dwarf woman would have an even better chance of getting to know Grista. But remember that trying to get to know Grista is going to be difficult if there are red brands around. the only way she's going to be openly talking to them about anything if they can actually get the red brands out of her tavern, because it's too dangerous. What's going to happen if the red brands get upset with her? What's going to happen is they're going to burn the thing down, like that first image that I showed you. They'll burn her tavern down, and that will be that. Okay. Darren, I was wondering why Walter's name was so familiar. Yeah. Hello, Darren. Okay, yep, okay. Right, you guys are saying hi. Oh, Joe, how's it going, Joe? Sorry it took so long to get to you, but I really wanted to answer that question. It keeps coming up about, how do I integrate my players' goals and background into my adventure, when it's the other way round. They're supposed to integrate it into your adventure. You give them enough meat and potatoes to work with so they can make that work, and then you don't have to worry about all that nonsense. Okay, Sector Black. The campaign I'm going to start running soon, I will be implementing a lot of tips from you and Matt Colville. Yeah, I like Matt Colville. I think it's been interesting because a lot of Matt Colville or Matthew Colville's advice has confused people, because he's talked about dungeon masters who are running games for the very first time. He's talked about dungeon masters who are more experienced running the game and the kind of effects. He actually self-reflects. He's a very self-reflective dungeon master, and he puts it on YouTube so people can see what he's seeing from the players, the responses he's getting, and the things he thinks about later on, which is really quite useful to a lot of people. I find his stuff really engaging, and I watch a lot of his material. So yes, but when he runs his adventure, he's running a game right now online. He's running it for people he's known for a while. He's also running it as a dungeon master, not running the game for the very first time. So the sorts of things that he's talked about doing and what he's doing now don't necessarily marry up, and a lot of people are quite upset and angry about that. And I would say to you, don't get angry with Matthew. Matthew is operating how most dungeon masters operate when they have a group of people who are their friends at the table, and the people he's playing with are his friends who he has known for a while. As dungeon masters, this is what we do. We do different things. We break our rules that we would apply for a very new group of people who we don't really know. I know I would not do the sorts of things that I do for people I know well, for people I don't know in a public game. I just couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. I also made some rough minis and coffee stains, some props. Oh, nice. Good one. Good for you. I'm not sure what the symbols mean, Walter. Give me a second. Teddy bears. Teddy bears. Yes. Teddy bears, and I'm not sure what the other thing is. It's teddy bears and something. Okay, Matt, here we go. Maybe just run the bugbear at max hit points. Yes, you could increase the hit points of the bugbear. It will last, probably if you give it max hit points, it might last another round or two in combat before it's done. And Matt, you are welcome. I'm glad. Look, all of my advice, I've told you guys before. I don't believe in doing a lot of preparation. I don't believe in making my job and your job harder. My purpose here is to make my life easier and your life easier, and I don't give advice that involves making your life more difficult. Okay, if the advice I give you requires you to spend hours and hours to do something, you shouldn't do it. You only do it if you can and you want to. Okay. All right, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. How's it going, Aaron? Almost missed it. Good answer, Fred. Thank you, Aaron. I'm glad you liked that answer. Darren, my party's already taken care of the red brand, so establishing the cleric's ties to the town, a bit more willing, much easier. Yes, it would be. Absolutely. Yep. I think the Dwarven cleric will have a much easier time developing and establishing relationships with any of Phandelin's town population, including Grista. So this is a good time to do it. Zigzag Twitch TV, ICUP. I'm not ICUP. ICUP. I don't know what ICUP is. I'm sorry, you'll have to explain, otherwise I have no idea. ICUP. Sector Black. I know that you're not a fan of running solo campaigns. No, I'm not. But right now I don't have a choice. Totally understand that, Sector Black. It is, if you've got no other choice, then you do it, right? I don't have a choice. It's either that or I hang up my dice bag. So I'm giving the player a halfling rogue follower. Any tips? Yes. I would, look, if you're running a group which is very small, I prefer not to play smaller than a group of 3. But if you're running a really small group, drop lots of healing potions. Make sure there's lots of healing potions in the loot. Make sure that you allow them to, don't make them start at level 1, you know. Encourage them to multi-class so that they have access to other features, particularly healing, whether that be a paladin, a cleric, a bard, you know, a druid, it doesn't matter. Something that they can use and utilize. I would encourage people to use animal companions. I know people say, no, animal companion. But look, if you have a really small group, an animal companion does not have a personality that you have to worry about trying to negotiate or play. So you don't have to get into all of that. It is just there mechanically to keep the maths from working out. So it is also a situation, I do not like it when dungeon masters play NPCs that are part of the party. But if you're running a group of 1, it is a possibility that maybe you want to consider doing. I would still consider going with an animal companion and then playing a character and trimming down the number of monsters and creatures they have to deal with. Always a good idea. Now, Sector Black, I want to talk to you about the fact that you've only got 1 person who can play with you right now. Because I had this happen to me many years ago. And it really upset me. I essentially looked at a situation where I wasn't going to get to play the game anymore. And as a result of this, I had to do a lot of soul searching. And you know what I did? I approached my family and I said, look, I really want to continue playing Dungeons and Dragons. But it's look, I got kicked out of the group that I was playing for. The dungeon master who was dungeon mastering for me decided that I was not to stay in his group. He was the type of dungeon master who would change the rules constantly, and it really would confuse me, and I always felt like I was, no matter what I did, he was trying to nerf something, and I no longer became fun. He had a manual. There was a great, huge, thick manual of house rules I had to read through, and obviously I didn't bother doing that. I read some of it, and then I just got frustrated. A lot of the other people at the table just wore it, and essentially he went and got advice from the internet, and they said, kick me out. That's essentially what happened. He regretted it after, but it ruined our relationship and our friendship, because I realized what was going on, and I turned to my family, and I played with my family. Came on board, they played Dungeons and Dragons with me, and then I decided that Facebook was not evil, and that I will use it for good. And I used that to branch out. There were a lot of people who were playing in groups that I couldn't be part of, and so I talked to people who were playing the game but I wasn't part of, and I stuck my feelers out that way. And I built a group in New Zealand, a Facebook group, for role-playing, and then it expanded. It's about 3,000 people in New Zealand, which is huge. Dungeons and Dragons in New Zealand was completely underground. It's not really the case anymore. It's very much out in the open. And every day there are people looking to play games in small rural towns that, where there's hardly anybody living. So trying to find people to play with who would be interested is going to be difficult. We don't have access to the internet necessarily to be able to play online games because they don't have fibre or strong enough internet to be able to maintain that sort of connection. So they have to play face to face. So they have to find people to play with. I know a lot of people started playing Dungeons and Dragons with their kids. They started playing the game with their kids because they didn't have anybody else to play with. And these are the things I would suggest you have a go at trying to do. Walter, I can't allow. I know what you've done, and I know you've changed out the first word, and I totally agree with you. But I can't put that up there. Okay, so I'm gonna just hide that comment, and you're welcome to put the comment in, but you have to word it just a little bit different. Okay, I just don't want it to get into that. But I thought it would be useful for you to hear what happened to me. I've talked about this a little bit in the past. Okay, so don't feel like I'm giving you a hard time if I haven't allowed the message you put up. Okay, you can just say that you didn't like what he did. I didn't like it. It's all right, Walter, Darren. It's totally fine. Okay, I just don't want to put it up there in the live chat. Okay, I want to make sure that YouTube is happy with the content that I do, and I still really want the channel to be family friendly. I really want the channel to be useful to mums and dads who are running the game for their kids. And as time goes by, I'm hoping that I will be able to present more stuff for them rather than less, because there's not a lot for them, unfortunately. Okay, so I've answered that. I hope that gives you some perspective, because you're not the only one who's been in a situation where you just didn't know who to play with because there wasn't anybody around. Okay, Joe had a couple of great sessions this week. Good, Joe, that's excellent. Didn't make it to Wave Echo Cave yet. Okay, all right. Zigzag, Twitch TV. Okay, all right, you're having a big smile there. Matt, what would be the easiest, what's that? Plave for them. Path for them, play for them to go after, deliver supplies to Phandalin. Okay, easiest path. The easiest path after they deliver the supplies to Phandalin. Okay, Matt, here's the easiest path for them. They should be, at this point, they should be level 2. They've done Cragmore Hideout, they should be level 2. I would say the easiest path for them is not necessarily to go after Gundren Rockseeker in Cragmore Castle. If they don't have that information, have them go after the red brands. Level 2, red brands, not a bad way to go, because it's not as difficult. Cragmore Castle is much more difficult because there are so many bugbears, so many goblins, so many hobgoblins, and it's so densely packed with monsters, and it's full of traps. So hence a dangerous location. Whereas somewhere like the Red Brand Hideout, much easier for them to manage. A lot of the little smaller side quests won't give them enough XP unless you do a lot of them, and I feel like that would chew up a lot of time. But they can get the location of Cragmore Castle by going through the Red Brand Hideout. They'll find the location from one of the Red Brands, or more than likely from Glassstaff, okay? Because he does know the location of Cragmore Castle. Okay, and I know I haven't talked a lot about Glassstaff and Iano Albric, but the day will come. I can't avoid it forever. Okay, Aaron, I see you pee. Yes, yeah. It's like that sometimes. All right, okay, now, Ricardo. Hello, Ricardo. Party just finished. adventure. Thanks in part to you. Oh, thank you very much in my videos. Great. Next goal is rebuilding Phandelver. Okay, refurbishing the mansion. Cool. It's a good idea, etc. I think that's a great thing to have them do. It would be sort of, I feel like it's more like a downtime thing, but I did a video on what's after Phandelver, so the next adventure after the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and I do talk about what you could do after, and certainly the kind of people who, or antagonists that might try to interfere with the rebuilding of Phandelver. So that will give your players' characters something to do while they're rebuilding or helping to rebuild Phandelver. So you can check that out if you want. The next session, they meet a wizard NPC resource. I'm naming Fred. You're naming me the Fred the Wizard. Love it. I must have had an impact on you, Ricardo. Hopefully I got your name right. I'm not even going to try doing your the second name because I'll butcher it and I'll just make an ass of myself. I don't really want to make myself look too foolish. Sector Black. Thanks for the tips on everything. I will do my best to make use of them. You're welcome, Sector Black. I totally understand your situation. Okay. It's all right. It's all right, Walter. No problems. Okay. Sector Black. Yes, you would think it would be easy to find people to play with as a DM. Laugh out loud. Yeah, because right it's always easier to find players than dungeon masters, but it's not always that way. And I actually had to pick up the dungeon master mantle quite a lot more if I wanted my family to play the game. I really had to dungeon master heaps more, pretty much all the time. But it's all right. Okay. Not always. Yep. Sometimes, it depends on where you are. Those really small towns where you don't have very strong internet connections and you can't play online and there's hardly anybody around that would be interested in playing the game, sometimes it can be difficult, but there are ways of making it work. It just takes a little time, That Facebook group means that I will never not be able to play Dungeons and Dragons in my area. And every day I'm working towards helping other people, no matter where they are, to not give up and find people to play with. Okay. Yes, indeed, such is life, yes. Facepalm, Aaron's facepalming. I'm not sure why you're facepalming, but okay. Slice of Scott. Is there a group of Fred's fans that play online? I do know a couple of people who live in Whangarei who play online quite a lot. They play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League online. They play mostly with the Americans because of the time zones. It's difficult for other locations around the world. A few Australians. There are 5 time zones in. There must be at least 5 time zones in Australia, and there's at least 5 time zones right in United States of America. So hence it works out provided he plays at the right time of the day. Matt, what do you got here? How do the people of the town treat them after they dispose of the gang? Okay, all right. So how would the NPCs, non-player characters in Phandelver treat the players' characters? They're going to be absolutely elated. Probably they would treat them like, I wouldn't say gods, but I would say they would definitely give them more weight than anybody else. Certainly they would carry more weight than the town master, Harben Wester. And they essentially have just become heroes for this town, because really the Red Brands were strangling it. And with the Cragmore tribe of goblins stopping trade coming through, and on top of that, you've got to deal with all of the Wyventor orcs, or the orcs of the Many Arrows tribe. They've stopped trade through Tribor, the main route along the Sword Coast has been blocked off by the Goblin tribes, and then you've got Nesnar the Black Spider pretty much strangling and trying to take control. So yeah, I think they would be very, very happy. Dillion Cross, 4 time zones in the US, pretty certain. Okay, all right. I know that Australia has 5. It's a huge continent. So there's at least 5 here. I'm pretty sure there's 5 time zones there. What Dillion Cross, what do you got here? Also, thank you for your in-depth analysis of D&D. It's helped with some tough times. Yeah, it's funny how that happens, eh? You're playing a game, you wouldn't think things would get so tough sometimes, but sometimes it does. Matt, what do you got here? Would they offer them something? Perhaps some great tome or relic? Well, the problem is that the people of Phandalin don't have any kind of artifact or relic to offer them. Remember, everything that they had has really been taken. They're paying protection money to the Red Brands. Their businesses are on the verge of falling apart. It's Grista who has the sleeping giant who is in the worst situation. So therefore, they really don't have anything major to give them. Unless, of course, you've come up with a little bit of additional information you've added to the story that I'm unaware of. Okay, what do you got here, Darren? They would become Big Darn heroes. Yes, they would. They would become Big Darn heroes. Like Jane Cobb. Is it Jane Cobb? Yeah. The hero of Clanton. Clanton? Canton. Canton. Sorry, Canton, not Clanton. Canton. The hero of Canton. Yeah, absolutely. You need to treat it like, think Wyatt Earp and Tombstone dealing with the cowboys. Dealing with all of dealing with the cattle barons. Think about that. That's what you're dealing with, you know. Okay, so what else we got here? Matt, like a sword of some old warrior or something like that. Well, if you've got a sword of some old warrior, yep, you can do that if you want. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that they would have anything. I think that the Phandalin support for them and their willingness to have them there, and you know, chances are that the Stonehill Inn, Tomlin would probably have them up for free. I would imagine that, you know, Grista would probably offer them free alcohol with probably some restrictions. Otherwise, she's in the same situation she was if they're drinking her out of house and home. And I think that, you know, there would be a lot of flexibility by the townsfolk. Darren, Matt, remember that the Phandalin was not always in ruins. They could dig up something while building a new building or something. Yeah, so, you know, the players could dig it up. Maybe as they're rebuilding, yes, maybe they can dig up something that was lost long ago. So yeah, certainly possibility. And Darren has provided a very good alternative and solution if you really wanted to use that. Okay, all right, I feel like we have come to the end. So unless there are any more questions, I'm going to have a drink of water. I'll give you time to flood me with questions if you need to. As always, I will answer questions unrelated to the Lost Mine of Phandelver. Just how it is. But I am definitely ready to go and have some lunch and watch lots of YouTube. I haven't watched a lot of the stuff that other channels have put out recently, so I'm looking forward to doing that. And I have to prepare for... I really want to prepare for some of the other content during the week before I wind up having to work for the next, right through the weekend, which sort of sucks because it means that I'm not going to get to do the things I normally do on the weekend. But the good news is 2 weeks of no real significant content, and then you get 7 days in a row of new content, more than likely. During the Easter break and Anzac Day, I get a big 7-day chunk, which is going to be awesome. And before I forget, if you haven't gone and seen the movie Shazam, it is so funny. I really enjoyed myself, and it made me start thinking about Dungeons and Dragons. So I will probably do a video on that, Dungeons and Dragons and Shazam, but it would be spoiler filled, so I won't talk anymore. I'm just going to say the movie I really enjoyed it, had a great time. It was really funny. It really got me in the heart, made me think about Dungeons and Dragons, and really made me think about family too, and really important factors, really important themes. So yes, I recommend the movie. Okay. Right, what have I got here? Okay, great video, Fred. Really liked this one. Good. I'm glad you liked this one. Sector Black. Just curious, do you have a absolute favorite monster to run? I really like mimics. I like to run the mimic. It just seems to be something that keeps cropping up for me. But I guess right now, for me, I'm really looking to use monsters I haven't used in the past. Since right back when we were doing the beta testing for the monsters, for Dungeons and Dragons Next, and when I was doing the alpha play test for the Dungeons and Dragons 5e monster manual, I've been running this, these monsters, so I really want to use different monsters in my adventures. And I haven't been dungeon mastering for quite a while now. That is going to end at some point. I'm gonna pick it up again. I've been playing, and I've been having a ball. It's been nice to be able to be a player rather than have to prepare stuff and be a dungeon master. Problem is, when you're not dungeon mastering, you probably have less content to throw out. So as soon as I go back to dungeon mastering, there's probably going to be huge amounts of stuff coming onto the channel, but right now there's a lot less. But the mimic is one I really enjoy. Slice of Scott, a wide range of excellent content. Yes, I am a wide range channel. I do lots of things. I'm not set in one area. Dear Jesus, 3% good night. Yes, good night, good day to everybody. You have a good day, mate. Thank you for showing up. 3% battery life. Yep. Wrap it up, mate. Wrap it up. We are done. We are done. Darren, we should set up an online game via Facebook group page. Yeah, I suppose we could. I'm a little worried about doing an online game because I prefer to play in person. And I guess the reason for it is just time. I run a YouTube channel and I have a full-time job and I'm a teacher. You know what that means? That means there's not a lot of time left. Okay, so and I'm in a new job. I'm teaching in a new job, so I don't have all of my I don't have everything in a line. I don't have everything worked out. So and I'm dealing with a group of kids who they're lost. So I'm really struggling with that right now. So I'm a little worried about doing that, but I think it would be sensible if somebody wanted to dungeon master to use my HowtoDandD Facebook group to set yourselves up into an online game and play together with each other. I think that's a great idea. I just don't know if I can set that up for you at this present time. Matt, thanks Fred, good afternoon. All right, I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, so it's all time to truck off. We are done. And hey, thank you to everybody. Thank you to my groupies, and you know who you are. It's always nice to have groupies on a YouTube channel. I really, really do appreciate it. You guys have been so supportive, and everybody else who showed up today. So have a good night, have a good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. Look after your family, look after yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.